Every day you use money from crime. Dirty money, without even realizing it. And that's not all. At the very moment you're watching this video, your identity might be being used to launder money for criminals. And we're going to show you how.
Identity theft occurs when fraudsters obtain your personal information, and it costs victims millions of dollars every year. The list is vast.
In August 2024, Huzaifa Hafiz Ismail, alias Danske Bank, was arrested in Dallas for laundering over 1 billion euros through cryptocurrency networks. In March 2014, Darko Šarić, a Montenegrin Serbian drug kingpin, was arrested in Montenegro. He was tried for laundering nearly 1 billion euros. In 2017, a Russian national was arrested for laundering nearly $4 billion from cyber attacks, fraud, and ransomware. In all these cases, criminals are often arrested, not for theft, murder, or any other crime, but much later because their money isn't clean. It's linked to crime. Before using it, criminals must first launder it. In every country, there's an anti-money laundering unit responsible for monitoring all financial activities. It has access to data from all banks, and as soon as it detects an inconsistency, for example, a large deposit with dubious justification, the anti-money laundering unit opens an investigation, and from there, everything happens very quickly. Money laundering consists of passing off funds from illegal activities as perfectly legitimate money. Let's take an example. A man buys an apartment in Paris for $500,000. The anti-money laundering unit quickly notices an inconsistency. The buyer only earns $1,700 a month. She then asks him where the money came from. Inheritance? A gift? Savings? Everything must be verifiable. If he provides dubious or unconfirmable documentation, investigators will eventually realize he's lying. In that case, the property can be seized and an investigation opened. It's to avoid this type of discovery that criminals try to launder their money. To achieve this, they use false names, perhaps yours, shell companies, art, real estate, cryptocurrencies, corruption, and sometimes, criminals even run for office to launder their wealth at the highest levels. After analyzing thousands of money laundering cases in several countries, we've made some frightening discoveries because they concern your safety. This documentary could protect you from a danger that is too often underestimated. The possibility of being arrested one day for a crime someone else committed while using your identity. For a step-by-step evolution, we have divided into categories. Money laundering from $5,000. Money laundering for rich criminals from $250,000. And money laundering for billionaire criminals. We'll call him David, a young man living in a large city in Malaysia. One day, he receives a call. On the other end of the line, a police officer informs him that he is involved in a drug and money laundering case. David panics. He hasn't done anything, but the accusations are specific, threatening, and the man tells him he risks immediate arrest if he doesn't cooperate. Under pressure, David swears he is innocent. The police officer pretends to want to believe him, but explains that to clear his name and avoid arrest, David must take certain steps within the banking system. To do this, he asks him to transfer money in order to verify his identity and freeze a suspicious account. Ashamed and terrified, David tells no one. He obeys. He borrows from his family and friends and sends nearly $5,000. Someone close to David eventually realizes what's going on. He explains to David that if the police really had a file on him, they would have summoned him to the station, not requested wire transfers over the phone. But it's already too late. The fake police officer has disappeared. The number is blocked. David realizes he's been set up. Shame, fear and guilt overwhelm him. Deeply in debt, unable to face his loved ones, he sinks into despair for several days, even contemplating suicide. This story is true, and it happens far more often than you might imagine, sometimes to the person right next to you in different forms. The fake police officer will then obtain several wire transfers. But if he sends the money to his bank account, the police will come and arrest him directly, and the case will be quickly solved. And the police would be bored afterward. So, how does the fake police officer receive money without revealing his identity? In the introduction to this video, we mentioned the risk of your identity being exploited by criminals. Here's how it can happen.
In 1968, and originally been established in 1931.
Criminals never use their real names. They post enticing ads online, car rentals or sales, house rentals or sales, job offers, and so on. Once you're interested, they ask for a copy of your ID, front and back, and then they keep you waiting indefinitely. But with your ID, they open online bank accounts, cryptocurrency accounts, and other services where they receive transfers that they quickly withdraw in cash. The fake police officer is clean, but you're unknowingly caught up in a scam. With these scams, our fake police officer can earn between $5,000 and $10,000 a month in cash. He can keep it in crypto or cash under his bed without any problem. But he can't consider buying a car or a house in his name, because sooner or later, the police will come asking where the money came from. So how do you launder amounts like $10,000? Criminals are very creative, so there are several methods, but here we'll look at two techniques. 1. The fake winnings technique. Here's how it works. After scamming David and other victims, the fake police officer spends his days in a casino, waiting. When a player wins, for example, $2,000, the fake officer offers to buy their ticket for $2,200. He cashes in the ticket in his name, and he has laundered $2,000, which he can now legally deposit in a bank without fear. And if he pulls off several of these scams, he can legally buy a house or a car in his name. However, the fake police officer will have to wait a long time before seeing someone win a significant amount. This makes this method difficult. 2. The fake business technique. Criminals open fast food restaurants, shops, or bars. Small businesses are ideal targets. Discreet, easy to buy, and simple to control. They often handle large amounts of cash, and their actual income is difficult to verify. Their small size also makes them less visible to authorities.
All right, everyone. Who's everyone that's here?
Take the example of a coffee shop that makes about $200 in revenue per day, but reports $500. The additional $300 actually comes from illegal activities, but now appears as legitimate sales. The more cash a business handles, the easier it is to conceal this mix. Meanwhile, some businesses create fake invoices or claim the customer ordered a $15 coffee when they actually bought it for $2, thus justifying the criminal money as a normal payment. However, there are several existing red flags. A tiny business reporting very high revenues, a closed or empty location presented as highly profitable, or owners who are difficult to identify. None of these elements constitutes proof in themselves, but they are enough to raise the suspicions of investigators.
The world's most powerful handgun. Now get this. The serial numbers were untouched.
If I say Louvre, password Louvre, does that ring a bell? On October 19, 2025, The world's most famous museum was the scene of a daring heist. In broad daylight, 4 individuals managed to steal exceptionally valuable jewelry in just 7 minutes. As in the Kim Kardashian kidnapping case, the perpetrators made their escape on scooters. That way, the Americans wouldn't accuse France of copying them. After an internal investigation, it was discovered that the password to access the Louvre's video surveillance servers was none other than Louvre. According to French experts, the value of the stolen jewelry is inestimable, but they estimate it at 88 million euros. If the thieves managed to resell these pieces for 40 million euros, each of them could pocket at least 10 million.
Okay, I'll talk to you later. See you later. Bye.
But one question remains. How can one freely enjoy such a large sum of money? Faced with such amounts, criminals then enter a very specific realm, that of financial schemes. To make it work, you must create shell companies. That is, companies that conceal the identity of their owner. And this is perfectly legal everywhere. These companies allow wealthy individuals to limit their taxes and preserve their privacy thanks to banking secrecy. In most countries, however, anti-money laundering units can access certain information. Faced with the need for discretion, some countries have established offshore jurisdictions, offering advantageous rules for creating companies or opening bank accounts with little or no tax. These territories are called tax havens. Well, as you probably know, where there is anonymity, criminals flock.
Well, I'm glad we could have this meeting.
So our Louvre millionaires will have to open shell companies in countries that cultivate absolute banking secrecy, like the Cayman Islands, Montenegro, Bermuda, Dubai. But the most impressive one is the state of Delaware, right here in the United States. This state has 1 million inhabitants, but there are over 2 million businesses at the moment. And despite that, there's an unemployment rate of 4.3%. It deserves a Guinness World Record. In this state, there's no obligation to reveal the identity of the company owner. You appoint a manager who uses a false identity. This shell company A opens another shell company B, which in turn opens another shell company C. This third one hires you as an advisor. It buys houses and luxury cars for its advisor, who is himself very well paid for this advice. And our Louvre thief can enjoy his hard work of 7 minutes almost legally. Even if investigators suspect your money is of illegal origin, they often struggle to provide concrete proof. This is because a country's anti-money laundering unit cannot act directly on banks located abroad. It must go through international cooperation procedures, which are often lengthy, technical, and highly regulated. Added to this is sometimes banking secrecy, which can further delay access to the information needed for the investigation. A criminal who single-handedly generates billions is rare. Such gains are achieved by criminal organizations such as the Sinaloa Cartel, Mexico. Considered one of the most influential cartels in the world, formerly led by Joaquin El Chapo Guzman until his arrest in 2016. The Medellin and Cali cartels, Colombia. Pablo Escobar's cartel, which was dismantled in the 1990s, but networks stemming from its former structures persist in more discrete forms. The Triads, a collection of criminal organizations originating in China, Hong Kong, and Taiwan, and present in many Chinese communities worldwide. Cosa Nostra, Italy, the Sicilian Mafia, and one of the most powerful and oldest Italian criminal organizations. The Yakuza, a highly hierarchical Japanese criminal organization. Although its influence has diminished, It maintains a significant presence both in Japan and internationally. Its main activities include drug trafficking, extortion, prostitution, human trafficking, illegal gambling, money laundering, and more. We will examine the case of Cosa Nostra. According to a 2003 Eurispes report, Cosa Nostra's annual revenue was estimated at 13 billion euros, and it is much higher today. Cosa Nostra is so powerful that even large Italian companies prefer to cooperate rather than denounce its blackmail. With profits in the billions, these criminals employ various methods, but here are three that will shock you. 1. Real estate. Criminals frequently use real estate to launder money because the owner determines the value of their property, making it complex and difficult to control. The process follows three main steps. Dirty money is used to purchase a property, partly in cash or through shell companies. Then, the criminals sell or rent the property, allowing them to recover money that now appears legitimate. An article in Blick magazine reports that in Serbia in 2023, less than 15% of homes were purchased with bank loans, while more than 85% were paid for in full, even though the average monthly salary there is 750 euros. An investigation by the French newspaper Le Monde shows that several traffickers admit to laundering their money through real estate in Dubai, believing that local authorities want to attract all types of capital to stimulate the economy. According to the Dubai Uncovered survey, nearly 30% of Dubai's real estate is foreign-owned, representing over $146 billion. Proportionally, this is 3 to 4 times higher than in major cities like London, Paris, and Berlin. The question is, why such an attraction to Dubai? Because real estate information is protected by law, making the country particularly safe for money laundering through real estate.
Habibi, come to Dubai.
2. Secure loan. A secured loan works simply. You request a $10,000 loan from the bank. The bank agrees, but only on the condition that you provide collateral. You deposit $10,000 into an escrow account, assuring the bank that it won't lose its money. It then lends you the requested amount. The Cosa Nostra exploited this system by opening several shell companies, which created bank accounts in Switzerland. Although Switzerland is no longer a true tax haven, its banking secrecy laws create a certain ambiguity regarding the origin of funds. Thus, the mafia's shell companies were able to request loans of millions of dollars, depositing equivalent sums as collateral in escrow accounts. And when you receive a loan, you also get a legal document proving that the money came from a loan. The mafia used this method to launder billions. In the United States, bank loans are not subject to taxation. To avoid taxes in Europe, La Cosa Nostra decided to reinvest heavily in real estate projects, such as the construction of hotels, luxury housing, and casinos. This is how the city of Las Vegas was born. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Without the mafia, the city would never have existed. 3. Market distortion related to integration. After the United States, let's turn to Italy. Before explaining what La Cosa Nostra did there, let's first review how a normal market works. Take the example of gasoline. When the number of buyers increases, the price per liter rises. When it decreases, the price falls. This is the normal functioning of a market driven by supply and demand. Market distortion occurs when the price no longer reflects this logic. As explained earlier, small businesses allow money laundering through cash and false invoices. The Cosa Nostra therefore bought up shops, restaurants, and various businesses in Sicily. Since these businesses served only as money laundering tools, they could afford to sell at a loss. However, these loss-leader sales weakened the competition, as legitimate businesses depended on them for their livelihood. Because of this competition, legitimate business owners often ended up closing or selling their businesses to the mafia. When the mafia achieved a near monopoly, it adjusted prices to its advantage. The Cosa Nostra thus shifted from market distortion to integration by investing in the legitimate economy. This allowed them to control a very large part of the Sicilian economy.
We are of the view that
If you're a major criminal, in the back of your mind, there will always be that nagging worry. What if justice catches up with me one day? So, why not become justice itself? A member of parliament, a minister, or even president? Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro is constantly accused of drug trafficking by Donald Trump, so far without any evidence. In Europe, former French President Nicolas Sarkozy is on trial in 2025 for conspiracy. He allegedly financed his presidential campaign illegally with money from Muammar Gaddafi.
Yes, Gaddafi paid Sarkozy.
But what interests us here is the method. To launder this money and leave no trace, the former French president's strategy was simple. Associates of Nicolas Sarkozy allegedly transported millions of euros in cash for him from Libya to France. How is this possible? At that time, Nicolas Sarkozy still held the position of Minister of the Interior. In other words, after the President and the Prime Minister, he is one of the three most powerful people in the country. Under these circumstances, it is extremely rare for a customs officer to decide to inspect the plane or luggage of the third most powerful man in France. Taking advantage of this status, Nicolas Sarkozy charters a plane for his confidants, tasked with transporting the funds in briefcases of cash. The money is then discreetly injected into his campaign fund. On Sunday, May 6, 2007, Nicolas Sarkozy is elected President of the French Republic. With such ease, criminals have reason to be envious. But Nicolas Sarkozy also has reason to make writers envious.
Former President of France, Nicolas Sarkozy, has arrived at La Santé prison in Paris.
He enters prison on October 21, 2025, and is released on November 10, 20 days. 30 days later, he writes and publishes a 216-page book, that's 7.2 pages per day, printed and published immediately, and all 216 pages, to recount his experience in prison. 20 days! Imagine if he spent a year in prison. Let's get back to the real story. In the 1930s, there was Joe, a mobster turned billionaire. He wanted direct access to the President of the United States. After all, money laundering in the White House. What charisma! The only problem was that Joe had a terrible reputation. Everyone knew he was a mobster. He understood that it would be nearly impossible for him to win an election without someone investigating and exposing the origins of his wealth publicly. He bet everything on his son. For years, he kept his son John away from these affairs, building him a perfect image while guiding him toward the world of politics. Then, in 1960, Joe committed his fortune, all his influence, and bought votes in every key state. His goal? The White House. On January 20, 1961,
Senator Kennedy was elected President of the United States.
John F. Kennedy became the 35th President of the United States. His father Joe Kennedy's dream finally came true. So, you're probably wondering if money laundering in the White House actually happened. 2 years later, John Kennedy was killed in an assassination that, to this day, remains a complete mystery.
We don't know about the rifle being pulled back. And some several police officers are rushing up the hill at this time.
The record for the largest money laundering operation ever uncovered leads to Estonia. In the mid-2000s, the economic opening of Eastern Europe transformed the new member states of the European Union into gateways to Western finance. It was in this context that a colossal, long-hidden mechanism was established. Between 2007 and 2015, the Estonian subsidiary of Danske Bank, Denmark's largest bank, became the center of an unprecedented money laundering system. Nearly 200 billion euros in suspicious financial flows passed through it, amounts exceeding the annual GDP of many European countries. The scheme relied on shell companies, registered in the United Kingdom, Cyprus, or tax havens, that opened non-resident accounts in Estonia. With no real activity, these structures served as a front for funds originating primarily from Russia, Azerbaijan, and other former Soviet republics, derived from corruption, tax evasion, and organized crime. Once in the bank, the money is divided, quickly transferred between accounts, and then sent to correspondent banks in Western Europe and the United States. Integrated into the international banking system, it becomes almost indistinguishable from legitimate funds. Investigations subsequently revealed serious flaws in the Danish bank's governance. Due to its size, 200 billion euros, its duration, 8 years, the direct use of the European Union, and the indirect involvement of numerous international banks, this case is now considered the largest known money laundering operation.